Hello everyone, this is Kiran Kumar and today I am going to deliver that online session on module 3 which is a macro-mechanical analysis of lamina. So in this module we are going to discuss with the varieties of the materials and the engineering constants that will come across in a particular composite as well as the general body, and later on we will deal with the what we call the stresses and strains in a uh, lamina. Okay, lamina of the composite, since it is consisting of only a single layer. Okay, and later on the same thing that we will calculate, that is stresses and strain in the other coordinate system. Okay, so that we are going to deal in this module, and few problems related to that. So first we will come across with uh, the axis system. We are having two axis system. Okay, so if I take a plate of single plate like this, okay, and if I assume the fibers in this orientation, okay, say for example the axis system that if I choose in the respective direction of the fibers, then it is usually called as what we call the local axis, okay, or local coordinate system. Okay, so the axis system which is aligned along the fibers. Okay, so that we usually talk it as local coordinate system. Another one is, you are familiar, that is global coordinate system. Okay, so these two systems will follow here, and later on, after considering the axis system, next we will check with the stresses generated in a three-dimensional body. If I choose this one as a general body, which is a rectangular block, and it is having three planes. Okay, so each plane is having the particular name, and this rectangular block is inscribed in the coordinate system. Okay, so one and the directions are represented as 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so and each plane which is named with the what we call in particular name or the notation, say this plane, if I choose this plane which is perpendicular to the respective one axis. Okay, that's why we are going to call this as the plane 1. Okay, and right now this plane which is perpendicular to the coordinate axis 2. Okay, that's why I'm going to call this as 2. And here the top face which is perpendicular to the axis 3, so I'm going to call this as notation as 3. Okay, so this is, if you need to observe that this is a plane 1, plane 2 and plane 3. Okay, and I'm going to call with the same name throughout the composite. And the next part is about the stresses generated in the each plane. Okay, so how we are going to find out that? So if I take this rectangular block, so there are 6 normal stresses and tangential stresses are developed respectively. Okay, so how? Let us look into that. If I take this plane 1 alone, so here I can divide the stresses into two parameters, two segments. One is stress which is normal to that plane, stress which is tangential to that plane. Okay, stress which is normal to that plane, we usually call that as sigma 1 1. Okay, and what about the other stresses, that is tangential stresses, and they are resolved into the other two directions. Okay, so like this is another stress that will exist, and one more stress in the direction of 3. Okay, so here this stress is in the direction of 2. Okay, so in order to do the naming, what we are going to do is, first we will indicate the particular plane, and second the direction. Okay, so like that we are going to name the particular shear stresses. So here it becomes sigma 1 2, here it becomes sigma 13. So it is the shear stress developed in the plane 1 in the direction of 3, shear stress developed in the plane 1 in the direction of 2. Okay, likewise if I take the second plane, here we are having three stresses. One is sigma 2 to normal stresses, another one is uh, shear stresses in the direction of 1, shear stresses in the direction of 3. And if I take what we call in the third plane, now one normal stress, that is sigma 33, two shear stresses, one is sigma 32 in the direction of 2, another one is sigma 31 in the direction of 1. Okay, so total 9 stress components that we'll get. But what we'll do is we usually consider sigma, the particular shear stresses are they are equal, that is sigma 13 is equal to sigma 31. You might have observed this in complementary shear stresses that we done in mechanics of materials. Okay, so that is sigma 31 equal to sigma 13. Okay, and sigma 23 equal to sigma 32. Okay, and in addition to that, sigma, another one is sigma 12 equal to sigma 21. Okay, like that if I do the total of 3 shear stresses that will arise us and 3 normal stresses. Okay, so which are those? Sigma 11, sigma 22 and sigma 33. Okay, so 3 normal stresses and 3 shear stresses. Okay, like that's usually for a general body stresses will be developed, and the same case that we have observed in the FEM also. Okay, yes, next by considering these stress factors, let us look into the type of materials that we'll dealt today. Okay, in order to observe the material symmetry, okay, so we should have the material coordinate system or the material planes. Okay, so this image which represents the material coordinate system, okay, where we are having the 3 coordinate system 1 2 3. So this is what we call the plane of material symmetry 1 2 and 3. Okay, so in order to observe this, before that if you want to discuss about the what is this material symmetry and all, first let us think of what is why which is these things are required. Till now you might have done or know the only one constant, that is the Young's modulus. Okay, so Young's modulus is the only one constant, and another one is Poisson's ratio. Okay, that we have dealt previously. So these two are for an isotropic material. So what is that isotropic material? Isotropic material is nothing but the property of the body which is the same in all directions. Okay, so let us relate that into what we call a steel body right now. Okay, so the meaning, the isotropic means, if I take a steel body like this, and if I am going to load it in any direction, okay, so then the stress is proportional to the strain. Okay, so that is what we are going to get. Means whatever the deformation that occurs, the same type amount of stress is also being generated with a linear this is strain. Okay, with a linear factor of sigma is equal to E into epsilon. Okay, so this is exists in say this direction, in this direction, in any direction if I take, then You know what is that? This equation is Hooke's law is applicable. Okay, that is what the meaning. And Hooke's law is applicable for isotropic materials. Later, and what about the other types of materials that you might have seen? I am going to study right now. We are going to study right now. So, like if I take the example of the other types of materials, say for example, if you take a chewing gum, so if you load it in any direction, then the deformation is completely different. Okay, so it is not at all. Although which is being having larger deformation, the stresses may completely differ. Okay, even the point where you are going to hold, that is having the highest deformation, but the other points which is having different dimensions. That is the example of another type of materials, or simply we will call that as anisotropic materials. Okay, so let us look into these things in the view of stresses and strains. Okay, so that is, let us apply the Hooke's law for three-dimensional body. Till now you have just now said Hooke's law for one-dimensional body, that is sigma is equal to E into epsilon. If I take a three-dimensional body like this, then obviously we are having six stress factors. Okay, sigma 1, sigma 2, sigma 3, that is normal stresses, and tau 2 3, tau 3 1, and tau 1 2, or else you simply represent but that sigma also. Both are correct. So how many stress component? Three, what we call three three normal stresses and three shear stresses. And later on, similar to that, we can relate that to strains also, three normal strains and three shear strains. Okay, and we are writing that together. That's it. So one next part is if you want to relate the sigma 1 to each strain components, then some constants will exist. Okay, like that sigma 1 is equal to what? So it is related to epsilon 1, that is like this, and that constant we usually denoted that by C11, and the strain sigma 1 which is also related to epsilon 2 also, means strain in the second direction. Okay, likewise sigma 1 is also related to the strain in the third direction, and in the same way the shear strains, okay, that is mu1 2, mu3 1, and mu1 2. Likewise, if you develop the stress strain relationship, then it's a big a 6 terms of linear equation. Okay, instead of writing in this way, what we will do is we are going to convert that into the matrix form, and denoting the each constants in the one matrix form and strains in the column matrix. So likewise, if you develop stress strain relationship, then the equation will be of this form. Okay, so here this 6 cross 6 matrix, we usually call it as stiffness matrix. So this matrix which is denoted by C, letter C, which is called as stiffness matrix. And later on, let us look into the constants, elastic constants that will available in this matrix is 36 constants, means 6 cross 6 means 6 into 6, that will give 36 constants. And this is what stress strain relationship. And in the same way, I can develop strain stress relationship for three-dimensional body. Means I will take the whole matrix and I am going to put it here. So if I put that stiffness matrix into the right hand side, then it becomes strain stress relationship. So that is what which is denoted here. So instead of the inversion of C matrix, that is stiffness matrix, we usually go through the another term, that is letter S right now, and the same matrix size will be available. Sigma epsilon 1 is related to all stress components. Similarly, the other normal strains and shear strains. Okay, so that the S denotes the compliance matrix. Okay, um, you should be very careful in this aspect. C denotes stiffness matrix, S denotes compliance matrix. Okay, don't confuse with the letter C and S. Okay, S is the strain stress relationship, that is compliance content, and C is the stiffness content. Okay, and later on, so all the terms are different here right now. Okay, when you go for the general relations, but usually these types of materials are exist, but in order to make the things simpler, what we'll do is we'll choose the material symmetry concept. Okay, so if I choose the material symmetry concept, the first material that will come is anisotropic materials. Okay, so whenever if you take the material, then uh, I can inscribe the material symmetry planes. Okay, so if I inscribe the material symmetry planes, the meaning is very simple. The particular matrix is symmetric about the diagonal. Okay, this is a symmetric matrix. Anisotropic materials are nothing but a symmetrical matrix. So if you closely observe C12, C12, C13, C13, C14, C14. Likewise, all the terms are symmetrical about the diagonal. Okay, so that is where if I inscribe the materials symmetry, then it becomes symmetrical thing. And later on, for anisotropy, one more condition is the direction 3 is normal to the plane of material symmetry. Okay, so you can refer this example. I inscribe the material into the material symmetry plane, and later on direction 3 is symmetrical about its center. Whatever the stresses or strains which is developed in direction 3, which is same in the other third direction also. So if you go for this one, then few terms are going to reduce us to 0. Okay, so which are all these two terms? Okay, let us look into, to understand that, let us look into this matrix. I will erase all the things. Yeah. So here the strains in the direction 3 are sigma 3, sorry, epsilon 3, nu 2 3 and nu 3 1. Okay, the terms which is multiplied to these factors will be 0. Okay, that is sorry, not normal stress, normal strain. So only the shear strain. So if I choose only the shear strain, so that will be C14, C14, C24 and C34, and C15, C25 and C35. Okay, these are these three terms that will arise us here, and since it is symmetrical, so the same terms will be eliminated from the lower diagonal values. Okay, in addition to that, we are having C46 and C56. Okay, this is also being multiplied to the C64 and C65. Okay, so these two is also being multiplied to nu 2 3 and nu 3 1. Okay, so then Since these two values are 0, so the C46, C56 will also becomes 0. Okay, likewise, the total constants which is being reduced to 13 independent elastic constants. Okay, so we have reduced the terms from 36 constants to 13 when we go for anisotropic condition. Okay, next material, that is orthotropic material. So, or it is also called as orthogonally anisotropic, or another name is specially orthotropic. Here also, so it is the extension of the anisotropic material, where here only one material symmetry that we have chosen, but for orthotropic material we will go for all three perpendicular planes which is having the material symmetry, means 3 3 dash they are symmetrical, similarly 2 2 dash which is symmetrical, 1 1 dash is symmetrical. So if you go for that symmetrical conditions, then the stiffness matrix will be reduced to in this way. Okay, so first these matrices are remain same. The terms which is multiplied to, that is we are going to include another shear strain also. See, gamma 2 3, gamma 3 1, gamma 1 2. Gamma 1 2. Okay, so likewise if you do, then all those terms will be eliminated along with the terms which are multiplied to gamma 1 2. Okay, so likewise if you do, then stiffness matrix will be reduced to this form. So if you calculate the total values, will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So from 13 constants, so it reduces to 9 constants. Likewise, if you go for transverse isotropic material, okay, in which direction 1 is normal to the plane of isotropy, okay, that is 2 3. So in this condition, what is going to happen is the term which is related to shear strain to the shear stress, that we can relate with the engineering constants C22, okay, and C23. So if you do that, then it will be reduces to of this type. Similarly, the other constants, this one, okay, as well as this one. So 1 2 3 terms will be changes, okay, so that it again becomes 5 independent constants, elastic constants. And the last one is isotropic materials. In isotropic materials, all the materials having infinite number of planes of symmetry, means the properties are independent of orientation. Okay, so if this is the case, if I choose, then what is going to happen is the directions 1 2 3 are become symmetrical, that is C11 C12 C11 C11 C11, which is the same constant that is meant for direction 1, direction 2 and direction 3, and later on the third direction shear strain constant is also becomes the same value, that is C12 on these two sides, and later on the shear stress to shear strain relation is also going to changes to C11 minus C12, like that, divided by 2. Okay, so if you do that, the only two constants are exist in this case, okay, that is C11 and C12. This is about an isotropic material. Okay, and in the same way, examples of this is steel, iron, aluminum. Okay, in the same way I can relate that to the what we call the compliance matrix in which is of this form, S11 S12 S12, like that. Okay, so since compliance matrix is nothing but the inverse of stiffness matrix, 2 is being multiplied to the particular terms. That's it. Okay, so that the terms will remain the same. Okay, so once you did that, sorry, this one is a monolithic material, so I forget to tell that, so which is being not included in the slide. It is monolithic material. For anisotropic material, this is the what you call compliance stiffness matrix. Okay, this is for monolithic material. So totally, how many materials that we have seen in this is anisotropic material, monolithic material, orthotropic material, transversely isotropic material, and isotropic material. So totally 5 materials that we have in this variety of classifications. Actually, for all these things there is a derivation. Okay, so that we'll cover later. Yes, next we will look into the elastic constraints of the lamina. Okay, so when you consider a lamina itself, lamina is nothing but a two-dimensional body. Okay, likewise in this way. So let us look into its fiber content also. So these are all the fibers, and this is the lamina. Okay, so if you choose a lamina, obviously what is going to happen is I should include the directions. Okay, let us call this as 1 and 2. Okay, which is nothing but what? Local coordinate system 1, 2. So since it is a two-dimensional, because thickness is very small compared to the other 2 dimensions, I can go for plane stress condition. Okay, plane stress conditions you are already familiar in your FEM classes. So whenever if it is plane stress conditions, the stresses in the third direction is 0. Okay, so let us consider that the third direction as 3. So the stresses are becomes sigma 3, tau 3, tau 2, 3, and tau 3, 1. Okay, so here it is. These 3 stresses will be 0. Okay, if these 3 shear stresses, stresses will be 0, then the remaining quantities, if I go through this slide itself, sigma 3, tau 2, 3, and tau 3, 1. So that all the terms related to that can be eliminated. Okay, so likewise, if I eliminate all these terms as well as the columns, so likewise, so what is going to happen is we come across with S11, S12, S21, S22, as well as these terms will become 0 because I am going to take the material as orthotropic material, and the only term that will exist here is S66. Okay, so that if I write down in this matrix form, epsilon 1, epsilon 2, mu 1, 2, that equal to S11, S12, S12, S22, 0, 0, 0, 0, S66 multiplied by sigma 1, sigma 2, tau 1, 2. Okay, so let us call this as equation number 1. Now what I am going to do is I will apply the individual stresses so that I can go for Hooke's law. Okay, means a one-dimensional Hooke's law. So let us do that part. So if I apply only the sigma 1, what is going to happen is sigma 1 is equal to E1 into epsilon 1. That is by using the Hooke's law, and the engineering constants E1 is what? This is nothing but longitudinal Young's modulus in the direction of 1. Okay, so that we have studied in the micromechanical analysis of lamina. So then it becomes in terms of strain, epsilon 1 is equal to sigma 1 divided by E1. And by using definition Poisson's ratio, that also we have seen in the unit 1, nu 2 1 is equal to minus strain in the direction 2 divided by strain in the direction 1. Okay, so negative term will be exist here. Okay, in the same way, let us do that the same thing for by applying only sigma 2. Okay, if I apply only sigma 2, then the equation becomes epsilon 2 is equal to sigma 2 divided by E2, and nu 1 2 is equal to minus epsilon 1 divided by epsilon 2. Okay, and later on for shear stress, obviously by using the Hooke's law, nu 1 2 is equal to tau 1 2 divided by G12. Okay, so all these terms we are familiar in the first module itself, G12, nu 1 2 and nu 2 1. Okay, once it is being considered, then we will write down that together, means when all the stresses are applying together, what is going to happen? We just summing it up. Okay, so that is strain in direction 1 is equal to sigma 1 divided by E1, that is the first case, minus this one, minus mu 2 1 into sigma 2 divided by E2. Why it is sigma 2 divided by E2? Because we know that epsilon 2 is equal to mu 2 1 into epsilon 1. Okay, likewise if I do for the epsilon 2 also, sigma 2 divided by E2 minus nu 1 2 multiplied by sigma 1 divided by E1, and the last one is nu 1 2 is equal to this, there is no changes in this case, tau 1 2 divided by G12. Okay, so if I considering these three equation, and once again if I rewrite that in terms of matrix form, then it becomes the strain relation to stresses, that in terms of matrix form, 1 divided by E1 is equal to minus nu 2 1 divided by E2, nu 1 2 divided by E1, 1 divided by E2, and 1 divided by G12. Okay, let's compare this equation number 2 with this equation number 1. Then what is going to happen is the individual coefficients will be equal. That is, S11 is equal to 1 divided by E1, this term. S12 is equal to nu 21 divided by E2 and nu 12 divided by E1. Okay, because they are symmetrical. Sign we are not going to include here. Okay, and the finally the next one is 1 divided by G12. 1 divided by G12 is equal to S66. And what about S22? So S22 is 1 divided by E2. So if I relate that, then it becomes where we are going to find what we call the compliance values of our compliance matrix values with the engineering constants. Okay, now we know the compliance values, so that I can calculate the stiffness matrix also. Okay, so that I am going to invert equation number 1 itself. This is equation number 1. If I invert the equation number 1, then it becomes sigma 1 sigma 2 tau 1 2 is equal to likewise, which is inverse of compliance matrix. Okay, so this inverse of compliance matrix we usually denote that with the other letters. Let us go for Q. Okay, so if I calculate the inverse, then the coefficients will become Q. That's it. Okay, so the terms are called as Q11, Q12, Q22, Q66, where Q matrix is usually called as reduced stiffness matrix. Okay, so what is this reduced stiffness matrix? Reduced stiffness matrix which relates the strain of the composite lamina to the stresses of the composite lamina. Okay, so where individual coefficients can be related by using this equation. This you can easily remember that by using we know the sometimes for plane strain, I think E1 divided by 1 minus nu square it is, instead of nu square 1 minus nu 21 into nu 12. Okay, and similarly E2 divided by 1 minus nu 21 into nu 12, where Q66 is equal to G12 and Q12 is equal to nu 12 divided by E1 divided by 1 minus nu 21 into nu 12. Okay, so this is about two things that we learned from this derivation. One is the values of the compliance matrix, which is much needed to solve few problems, and the next one is reduced stiffness matrix. Okay, that is Q. Okay, Q represents reduced stiffness matrix, S represent compliance matrix. Okay, by considering this, let us go through one problem. For graphite epoxy unidirectional lamina, find the following. Okay, so first one is compliance matrix, I should calculate. Second one is minor Poisson's ratio, reduced stiffness matrix, as well as strains in the 1-2 coordinate system. If the applied stresses are sigma 1 is given 2 megapascal, sigma 2 is given minus 3 megapascal, tau 12 equal to 4 megapascal. Okay, so up to this, and some engineering constants is also given. Longitudinal Young's modulus epsilon 1 E1 is equal to 181 gigapascal. Transverse Young's modulus E2 is equal to 10.3 gigapascal. Major Poisson's ratio mu12 is equal to 0.28 and G12 is equal to 7.17 gigapascal. Okay, so these are all the terms which is given in the problem. Let us look into this. What is this compliance matrix? Compliance matrix is nothing but the S matrix. Okay, so you have to remember this. So what I should calculate? I should calculate all these terms. Okay, so how will you do that? By using the previous, by remembering the previous values. Next, minor Poisson's ratio. Okay, minor Poisson's ratio. So that by using this one. So here nu 12 is nothing but minor Poisson's ratio. And next one is reduced stiffness matrix. Okay, so what is that reduced stiffness? This should be this one. Okay, reduced stiffness matrix is nothing but I should calculate Q11 to Q666. Okay, likewise you have to remember. And then the last one is strains in the 1-2 coordinate system. So this is how will you remember? Strains in the 1-2 coordinate system means I should calculate epsilon 1, epsilon 2, mu 12. Okay, so in order to calculate this, either you can go for this matrix or this matrix, because you already calculated. If you compliance matrix, then I can use this, or else you can go for this also. Both are correct. You should remember which term you should calculate. Okay, so once all these things you have clarified, next let us go through one by one. First one is compliance matrix. So for compliance matrix, you have to remember these terms. So S11 is equal to what? 1 divided by E1. So Young's modulus, longitudinal Young's modulus is given. S22 I can calculate because transverse Young's modulus is given, and G12 is also given, so that I can calculate S66, and S12 is also given, so that I can calculate these constants are given, so that I can calculate S12. Okay, so if I use all the terms, so S11 is equal to 1 divided by E1, so E1 value is 181 gigapascal, or else 181 into 10 raised to 9, so that S1 becomes S11 becomes this one, and similarly S12 is equal to minus mu 12, that is 0.28 divided by E1, so that it becomes negative of that value. And the next one is S22. So S22 is 1 divided by G12. So G12 value is S22 is 1 divided by E2, that is 10.3 into 10 raised to 9. And finally S66 is nothing but 1 divided by G12. Okay, so that I am going to get all these terms, as well as I can calculate the major. Second one is minor Poisson's ratio. So minor Poisson's ratio nu21 is equal to, it is nothing but E2 divided by E1 multiplied by nu21. Okay, so that we are already dealt in the previous module, so that is intentionally asked here. Okay, so if I take these two equations together, it's already there in the previous model. You just go through this equation. Nu21 is equal to E2 divided by E1 in multiplied by nu12. Okay, so that I am going to get minor Poisson's ratio as 0.01593. Next one is the reduced stiffness matrix. So in order to calculate reduced stiffness matrix, either you can go through the previous terms that we have used. Okay, so I can use this equation to calculate the reduced stiffness matrix. And one more thing is, we are already familiar with these values. If I substitute that in the matrix in your calculator, and if I inverse that, then I am going to get directly the Q11 and all the terms, that is 3 terms, 4 terms, I am going to get it easily. So what thing you should do is, you just put that in 3x3 matrix with all S values and do the inverse. So if you do that, obviously you are going to get the Q terms directly. So instead of using or to remember all these, you can do that part also. So if you do that part, then the terms will be like this. Okay, so Q matrix is also, that is reduced stiffness matrix, is also have been calculated. So the last one is what? So the last one is strains in the other coordinate system, that is local coordinate system. So strains epsilon 1, epsilon 2 and nu12. So in order to use that, either you can use this equation, because this is a simpler one, because since we already know all these, so I will show that. Yeah, we already know S11, S12, S22, S66. So if you just simply substitute this and multiply that with the stresses, I directly going to get strain in 1-2 direction. Okay, that's what we are going to do here right now. So we know that strain in one direction 2 into 10 raised to 6, strain in second direction minus 3 into stresses in one direction, stresses in second direction, and stresses in shear plane. Okay, the 4 into 10 raised to 6 multiply by S matrix. Okay, this is S matrix with all the terms of S. Okay, so once you do that, then I am going to get the strains in the 1-2 directions directly. Okay, so this is about what we call elastic constants of a lamina. Okay, so likewise the problems may arise in the exam also. Next, we will look into the next topic, that is variation of lamina properties with orientation. Okay, so usually the lamina that we have taken previously is horizontal, means the fibers are oriented particularly in the horizontal direction, and we have chosen the coordinates in the same direction itself. That is, 1 2 is the local coordinate system, where 1 is purely parallel to the direction of fibers. Okay, so likewise, but this is not true in case of the practical issues. So in practical issues, the what we call the fibers are oriented in different direction. Okay, so this is an example of that. So here fibers are oriented with the different directions, and the whatever the values, that is strains and stresses we calculated previously, that is applicable in the direction of 1 and direction of 2 only. Okay, so direction of 1 and direction of 2 only, but we don't want these values. Okay, stresses and strains in the fiber directions. We always interested in the directions where load is applied. Okay, so if I assume the load is applied in these directions, I want the stresses and strain in these two directions. Okay, so in order to do that, we will go for inducing the coordinate system, that is global coordinate system. Okay, so I'm going to induce global coordinate system, which is horizontally as x, vertically as y. Okay, so what is the intention? I hope everyone will get that. So stresses and strains we calculated previously, which is in the direction of the fibers as well as perpendicular to that of the fibers. Okay, but if you want the stresses and strains in the other directions, then we should go for the global coordinate system. Okay, that's what we are going to do in this derivation. That is, lamina is oriented in different direction. Okay, so that is what we are going to consider right now. Yes, so how we will proceed for this? Okay, for that let us take a lamina in which the fibers are oriented with the angle theta, and the global coordinate system are taken as x and y, and local coordinate system as 1 and 2. Okay, so once we have taken all these, next thing is, yes, okay, let's do this. Since, as I said, I want to calculate the stresses and strains in the direction x and y, that is global coordinate system. So what I'm going to do is, I will go for transforming the respective stresses. Okay, say I will only take sigma 1 right now. Okay, I know that sigma 1 is in this direction. So this is a vector, you know that. So if you want to find out the stresses in x directions, what we will do? So we are going to resolve this vector in these two directions, isn't it? Okay, so that we call it as sigma x, and another one as sigma y. Okay, sigma x and sigma y. This is for sigma 1. If I include all the stresses, that is sigma 2 and as well as shear stresses tau 1 2, that is in a inverse plane, a perpendicular plane. Okay, what is going to happen? All the terms only I should resolve, all the vectors I should resolve in x direction and y direction. Okay, so if you do that, then I will show only for sigma 1 right now, sigma 1 and sigma x. So in terms of sigma 1, sigma x is calculated as sigma x is equal to what? Cos sigma 1 into cos theta, isn't it? Sigma 1 into cos theta. Similarly, sigma y is sigma 1 into sin theta. Okay, so that we know that by using a simple vector resolving part, and the same thing we have to do that for sigma 2 as well as tau 1 2. Okay, so if you do that all together and if you add all these things, then if I represent in terms of matrix form, we usually call that as a transformation matrix, where we are transforming the stresses from direction 1 to 2 to the x to y. Okay, so that the equation becomes like this: sigma x sigma y tau xy is equal to transformation matrix of inverse multiplied by sigma 1 sigma 2 tau 1 2. So what is the transformation matrix? It is nothing but c square s square 2cs s square c square minus 2cs minus cs c square minus s square. And you should confuse what is this c and or c and s. C is nothing but cos theta, s is nothing but sin theta. That's it. Okay, so it is, you don't need to worry much about all these things, how it came and all those. So it is nothing but by using the vector analysis, as I said previously. Okay, so what I want the stresses in xy tau xy. So I have inverted the transformation matrix. Okay, multiply that with the local stresses. Okay, once you get that from the previous derivation, we know that local stress related to local strains. Okay, sigma 1 sigma 2 tau 1 2, which is related to local strains with the reduced stiffness matrix, okay. Now what I will do is, since I want what is this, stresses in xy directions, so I am going to substitute equation number 2 in equation number 1. Okay, so if we do that, the terms will be expressed in this way, where it is included with the inverse of transformation matrix multiplied by Q matrix. Okay, so let us call this as equation number 3. And next part is the same thing that we can do that for the strains also. Okay, so if you want to do that for the strains, then initially it will be of this type. Okay, so this part is especially this one, which is not at all being told in any of the previous classes. Okay, so I'm going to explain this later. We'll touch this part. So usually strains are, you know, being classified as engineering strains. Okay, so these two are normal strains, but this is shear strain. So whenever I want to use the shear strain in this matrix, I have to go for a slight conversion factor. Okay, so that conversion is this engineering strain or the shear strain divided by 2. Okay, so this part I have to do that. So if you want to do that, then the matrix will be of this type. Okay, if you convert that, finally it will be gamma xy by 2 also. Then I can include shear strain into this column matrix. So you have to remember that part. So finally, so the thing is, if you want to use the shear strain in this column matrix, you have to divide that by 2. So if you do that, then I'm going to write that directly. So strain epsilon 1, epsilon 2, mu 1 2 is equal to transformation matrix. Here also I should transform strains in 1 2 direction to xy direction. So if you do that, then it will be of this type. And the next point is, since there is a one more term that is divided by 2 in the shear strain, I have to include that parameter. In order to include that parameter, there is a one more matrix I am going to include, which is usually called as Reuter matrix. Okay, where Reuter matrix is given by 1 1 2. Okay, diagonally 1 1 2, and all other parameters are 0. Okay, so the purpose of Reuter matrix, it is purely because of shear strain. Okay, that only you have to remember. So I have chosen epsilon 1, epsilon 2, gamma 1 2 because in equation number 3 I want to replace this. Okay, so if you want to replace that, then I should calculate those factors. So I just calculated that. So let us call this as equation number 1. Once you get the equation number 4, once you get this, so you just substitute equation number 4 into equation number 3. So if you do that, then it becomes sigma x, sigma y, tau xy, transformation matrix inverse multiply by Q matrix. So these two terms are already there. In addition to those two, I have to include these three terms. Okay, R, T, R inverse. So multiply by epsilon x, epsilon y, and gamma xy. Okay, so likewise, if you do, then I'm going to get, if I multiply all these terms together, then I'm going to get sigma x, sigma y, tau xy is equal to Q11 bar, Q12 bar, and Q16 bar. And here these terms are not 0, so you should be very careful. Q12 bar, Q22 bar, and Q26 bar, and Q66 bar. Okay. So what is this Qij or Q bar are called as transformed reduced stiffness matrix. Okay. So that is what we require. So sigma x, sigma y, tau xy in terms of epsilon x, epsilon y, gamma xy. Okay. So it is Q bar, okay, which is usually called as transformed reduced stiffness matrix, and is given by in this format. Okay, so it is in terms of Q11, Q12, Q1, Q66, Q12. All terms are there from the reduced stiffness matrix. In addition to that, we are having C and S. What is C and S? It is nothing but cos theta and sin theta. Okay. So this is the final equation that we obtained from this derivation. In addition to that, I can calculate the strains in terms of stresses. Okay, so if you do that, then it becomes inverse. Okay, so inverse of Q matrix is nothing but what? A reduced compliance matrix. Okay, reduced compliance matrix, that is S. So this matrix we usually call it as, or simply S bar is nothing but what? Reduced compliance matrix. Okay, so that I can represent that, say, S11, S12, all those constants in this way, where here also it comes with the C and S, where C is cos theta and S is sin theta. Okay, so the only thing is, from this derivation you should remember either this or this. Okay, among these two you have to remember one of the set of equations. Okay, better you have to remember this equation, so that that will be useful to solve the next set of problems. Okay, okay, so by considering all the previous factors of a lamina which is oriented at certain angle to the global coordinate system. Okay, for that varieties of properties that we have seen, let us look into the problems that we are going to solve today with the help of textbook CM Author Keka. Okay, let us look into the equation number 2.7. Find the following for 60-degree angle lamina. Okay, so it is also given, this is the lamina where which is made up of graphite and epoxy. Use the properties of unidirectional graphite epoxy lamina. Means that properties are already given. That is longitudinal Young's modulus, transverse Young's modulus, major Poisson's ratio, and shear modulus. All these factors are already given in this table. Okay, so here transverse modulus and all those things. Now, next thing is, so let us skip this part. If the applied stress is sigma x is equal to 2 megapascal, sigma y is equal to minus 3 megapascal, and tau xy is equal to 4 megapascal, what you should do, you have to calculate these factors: global strains, local strains, and local stress. Okay, these three factors I should calculate. So this is a problem statement. Let us skip these two parts, okay, which is not at all we have discussed, and it's not there in your syllabus. Okay, so first let us look into these terms. What is global strains? Okay, so if I look into this derivation, okay, so here you should observe which is the global strains. So global strains are nothing but epsilon x, epsilon y, and gamma xy. Or else you can go through this also. So what I should calculate? I should calculate epsilon x, epsilon y, gamma xy. So these factor I should calculate. And let us look into the second part, local strains. Okay. So what is that local strains? So this term. So here epsilon 1, epsilon 2, and nu 1, 2 are nothing but the local strains. Okay, so those two I should calculate. And local stresses. So what is that local stresses? So local stresses are sigma 1, sigma 2, and tau 1, 2. Okay, sigma 1, sigma 2, and tau 1, 2 I should calculate. So you have to remember thoroughly all the meaning of these notations. Okay, so this is local strains, global stresses, local strains, and global strains. Okay, so in that global stresses are already given, where I should calculate global strains and all. Okay, so let us solve this part. So I will take the help of this equation itself. Okay, because stresses are directly given. Sigma x is equal to 2 megapascal, sigma is equal to minus 3, and tau xy is equal to 4. So these terms are already given, where I should calculate the reduced compliance matrix. So if I calculate that, I can easily go for calculation of global strains. Okay, in order to calculate this, what we call is reduced compliance matrix, I have to go through this part. Okay, all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equations. You should remember this. Okay, so these terms are we have to calculate, that is S11, S12, S66, and S22 also. Okay, so those terms you should calculate that. That is nothing but what? Compliance matrix. Okay, so if you go back to the previous problem, in the previous problem we already calculated that. Okay, so S11, S12, and S22, S66, which is already provided here. So the same thing you have to calculate here also. Okay, so that values once again I'm going to write it down here. Yeah, S1n is 0.5525 into 10 raised to minus 11, S12 minus 0.1547 into 10 raised to minus 11, S22 0.9709 into 10 raised to minus 10, and S66, that is 0.1395. Okay, so once you calculated all these, next part is you have to substitute those terms in these 6 equations. Okay, so let us do that part, where I substituted S11, S12 and all those things, multiply by c to the power of 4. Okay, so before that you should calculate what is C and what is S. C is cos 60 degree 0.5, S is 60 degree 0.866. So if you are going to substitute C value and S value and do the squaring, I can calculate all these terms. Okay, so one by one you have to calculate S11 bar, next S12 bar, S16 bar, and S22 bar, and S26 bar, and S66 bar. Okay, all these 5 terms you should calculate. Once you calculated that, you have to substitute in this equation. Okay, so if you substitute that in this equation, then the global strains is given by, okay, a 3x3 matrix multiplied by stresses value. Stress is already given in the problem. Okay, so sigma x is 2 into 10 raised to 6, sigma y is minus 3 into 10 raised to 6, and tau xy is 4 into 10 raised to 6. So if you multiply, do the matrix multiplication, then we are going to get global strains in the xy direction. Okay, so first part is over. So the next part is, okay, let us look into the next part. I should calculate is local strains. So local strain is nothing but what? Strain in 1-2 direction. Okay, so in order to calculate strain in 1-2 directions, better this equation itself is enough. Okay, so epsilon 1 epsilon 2 gamma 1 2 by 2. Okay, gamma 1 2 by 2, that is equal to, likewise, so we already calculated. Okay, so for your easy convenience, if you adopt this equation, then it will be easier for to calculate the local strains. Okay, because the only thing is we already calculated, so it should be by 2. Okay, it should be divided by 2. Okay, here also it's divided by 2. Sorry for that inconvenience. Okay, okay, let's do calculate this part. So if you calculate that part, only term I should include is transformation matrix. So calculate transformation matrix. So transformation matrix is C square S square 2CS, this one. So substitute all the values of C and S and multiply that with the global strains. So if you do that, I am going to get the local strains. Okay, next part is the last one is, so the last one is, let us look into that quickly. Local stresses. Okay, local stresses is means what? Sigma 1 sigma 2 tau 1 2. So I should calculate this factor. So in order to calculate this factor, if you observe this equation, this will be helpful. Why? Because the only thing is the relation is transformation matrix, and I know these factors sigma x, sigma y, and tau xy. Okay, so let us calculate that part. So transformation matrix we already calculated. You just substitute that along with the normal stresses, 2 into 10 raised to 6 minus 3 into 10 raised to 6, 4 into 10 raised to 6, and do the matrix multiplications. So if you did that, I'm going to get sigma 1 sigma 2 and tau 1 2. Okay, so this is a simple matrix, simple problem that we are going to solve in this. So only this variety of problems will be observed in and thank you everyone for your patience listening, and I hope you are going to solve these types of problems. If you got any doubt related to that, you can ask me for queries. Okay, thank you.